Hi everyone and welcome back. Now today we're going to continue with part 2 of this subject about how the food we eat can directly affect our mental health and the exciting results from real studies that we can all use to our advantage. Now get a load of this one. It's called the PLOS One study, and it's a huge study of 1 million active military service members and veterans from the USA War Veterans Association. I mean, that's a lot of people. It was found that a vitamin D3, that's the sunshine hormone, deficiency below 19 nanograms per mil, and that's actually a measurement, was directly associated with feelings of hopelessness, sadness, dread, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, depression, and even schizophrenia. Plus, a reduction in appetite, weight gain, a common result of the stress response, sleep issues, mineral deficiency levels, and a reduction in species of critical, healthy gut bacteria. Now, vitamin D3 is an essential element, you could say. Doesn't that also suggest that mental health is a biochemical issue created and compounded by other things? Now, the study showed that a daily consumption of 50,000 IUs of vitamin D3 supplements brought a reduction in risk of all these mental health issues, including suicide, of between 45 and 64%, depending on the individual and their ancestry, which determines the colour of their skin and what country they came from and what country they're living in now. Now, that potentially means that approximately 50% of the people who have died from suicide might still be with us if they received adequate amounts of vitamin D3 supplements, which also suggests that vitamin D3 deficiency could be an underlying cause of thoughts of suicide. And clearly by the studies, it's contributing to many mental health disorders. However, just for interest, it turns out that 50,000 IUs is about 2 hours exposure per day in the clear sun wearing your budgie smugglers or Brazilian bikini. But who of us has got the time to do that? Or 50,000 IUs is the equivalent of 250 milligrams of vitamin D3 supplements per day. Now, how much is that? Well, we regularly consume 400 to 500 plus milligrams of vitamin C or magnesium every day as supplements, and that doesn't take into account the amounts that we are consuming naturally. Now, based on all the science I've read and feedback from legitimate practitioners, the average amount required of vitamin D3 as a supplement is around 4,000 to 5,000 IUs or more per day, depending on the individual. And the individual variation is why we need to test our individual levels. Everyone is different. And for the record, there is zero science that shows 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, or even 500,000 IUs per day is detrimental to our health. Now, just for interest again, 95% of all D3 supplements are made from lanolin, the grease found in sheep's wool. Hardly dangerous. Now, there are still other issues to rectify in our life, but if we correct this one big deficiency with supplements and getting out in the sunshine at every opportunity, then a lack of it will not be the cause of triggering mental health imbalance. And that's really good to know. Remember, a deficiency of such vital ingredients will always trigger the stress response, which will always create adrenaline and cortisol stress hormones designed to create yet another wave or sense of anxiety or panic in order to get us to rapidly remove ourselves from the perceived danger zone. And when we eventually wear ourselves out from all the stressful exertion going over a long period of time, we can end up with levels of depression. You see, it's well known, it's a step-by-step process. And remember, it's called a progressive disorder because with the right diet and change of lifestyle, this disorder is designed to reverse back to a balanced state. Now consider this. There are 4 critical needs for most creatures on this planet: water, air, oxygen, and the influence of the sun. To most of us, it is obvious that if we don't drink water and breathe air, we die, right? But there is one small but critical aspect of health that we should be getting every day that gets forgotten, and that is adequate exposure to the sun or food which contains adequate amounts of vitamin D3. It turns out that a lack of this is a major contributor to humans experiencing many common health issues, including mental health. Now, we all know about the cause of the winter blues, right? And cases of anxiety and depression do increase over the winter months. Weak or no sun, maybe? A big deal? Yeah, I think it's a big deal. Now, here is a list of common scientific facts regarding vitamin D3, or the effect of the sun's rays. These are all well known. Long-term deficiency will always have poor health outcomes. Always. Remember that. Those with long-term mental health issues of any nature, including anxiety, are very low or deficient in vitamin D3. People who are living a stressful life will be deficient. So if you're experiencing anxiety, depression, or in fact any mental health issue or long-term stress in your life, then get it checked out, for goodness sake. It could just be an underlying cause. Elderly people are consistently found to be deficient, resulting in unnecessary health issues and feelings of stress at every level, which includes panic attacks and elevated levels of anxiety. Overweight people have consistently lower levels of vitamin D3 for specific reasons. It is very conceivable that any one of us who regularly gets infections of any kind are deficient in vitamin D3, which prevents our natural immune system from operating effectively. During the recent COVID outbreak, many who experienced a bad viral reaction and were tested were found to be consistently deficient in vitamin D3. And that correlates with getting the flu each year, late spring, early autumn. And as it turns out, an optimum level of vitamin D3 actually regulates the immune system response to internal infections. It's critical, especially at those times of the year when we get the flu. Now, deficient in vitamin D3 means the immune response can run out of control or reduce in efficiency. Why? Because D3 is the thing that controls the effectiveness of the immune system response. Now, for specific reasons, depending on the latitude where they live, many individuals who have olive skin are deficient. Born in a high sunshine country and now living in a low sunshine country. Many indoor workers and night shift workers are deficient. Well, obviously, they're awake when there's no sun and sound asleep inside when the sun's out. And get this, in the Western world, on record, 80% of the population is deficient or extremely low in vitamin D3. And with all the slip, slop, slap advertising promos around the world, the incidence of melanoma skin cancers are still rapidly increasing. Now, there is one very clear reason. It turns out the sun's rays that we are so adamantly avoiding also creates the vitamin D3, which protects the body from the ravages of the sun's rays. Goodness me. Now, the highly acclaimed pioneer of vitamin D3 studies, Professor Bruce Hollis, and you can YouTube or Google him, recently discovered D3 travels through the body in 2 pathways. Now, unfortunately, that information is still making its way through into our medical degrees. But simply put, the commonly known one is through the skeletal system, which keeps our bone density in a balanced state. Now, it requires a bare minimum blood concentration of D3 of 19 nanograms per mil. Over 100 years ago, this amount was based on the minimum requirement to prevent rickets in children. And the figure has never been upgraded in 100 years. But the secondary pathway is through the blood system to every cell in the body, and that requires an optimum level of around 80 nanograms per mil. It is crucial for the function of a healthy immune system and our body's hormone production and transport system, and much more. Now, everyone should know their levels of vitamin D3, so ask your doctor to be tested, and if they can't do it for you, ask where you can get it done. Now, back to the original question from the previous video. So, does the food we eat have a huge influence on our body and brain and therefore our mental health? And as it turns out, that includes all mental health issues, including ADHD, a really popular one at the moment, and autism, for example. I think it's pretty obvious. The answer has to be a definitive yes. The science is very clear and highlights the huge difference between the science approach and the mental health industry approach to the influence of the correct foods and nutrition on our mental health. For example, in the science world, with any mental health issues of any kind, the priority is to first correct the food or nutrient chemical deficiencies that will be occurring, followed by lifestyle issues and specific therapy, followed by medications, but only where necessary and effective. In the mental health industry, the priority is first medications while nutrition is not mentioned, followed by general therapy. See, they're poles apart. Now, the results of both approaches have been well documented with brain scans, and those results are very clear and very obvious. Phew, we made it. Good job, everyone. I think that was quite interesting. So we'll see you in the next video when we'll do a summary of this whole nutrition thing. Good job. See you later. Bye-bye.